One thing I will mention on those censuses is that in Stanley County, the 1820 census does not exist. It was destroyed somewhere along the line. After you've looked at the censuses, you might want to contact the funeral homes. Sometimes they have records and can help you. Don't forget the tax lists. And at one point, there was the voter registration so that it showed who was paying the taxes, and it went back to possibly the father. We need to think in terms of when counties were divided. You might have a situation where a person has never moved, but they may have lived in 2 or 3 counties. So this is the handy book for genealogists, and this will tell you all the states, what county they were created from, when they were created, and many things that are available. So this is really a helpful book. All right, looking at, okay, think about migration patterns. Where did the families from Stanley County come from? Basically, there are 3 different migration patterns. You have the group that came into Philadelphia. They came down through the Shenandoah Valley, down through Virginia, on the wagon trail, many of them stopping at the Moravian sites, at Salem, now a part of Winston-Salem, coming on down to Salisbury and on down. Another group of the migration came into James River. Today we might think of Williamsburg. I think everybody knows where Williamsburg is. So they came into the James River. They came a little bit further west and then on down into North Carolina. Remember, as you look at North Carolina, you remember that there's only one deep port that the ships can come into, and that is Wilmington. And it is known what ships came into Wilmington. So they either had to come in from from Virginia down, or from South Carolina up. Many of the Stanley County families came from Chatham County. Chatham was made out of the original Orange County, and so there's a lot of them that came from there. The third migration, and particularly the Scottish, came into Charleston and then came up through South Carolina into Stanley County. You also, when you're doing this, you think in terms of which group was it because of what church they were in. You know that your Scottish were mainly Presbyterian, and that there's a lot of Presbyterian churches in Charlotte and this way. Your German were mainly Lutheran or Reformed, or at first it was a Union church where those 2 churches met together. And in that case, usually the minister may only come once a month. So you might have one child, a German child, who was baptized by a Reformed minister. His sister might have been baptized by the Lutheran minister. And then later on they started splitting. Here in Stanley County, the churches were a little bit later. As we said, we had plenty of grog shops, the liquor stores, or the place where you could buy liquor when you went to the court, but the churches came later. So that's why you will not find real early churches here in Stanley County, Cabarrus County and the adjoining counties. Then, all right, let's see. At that point, with our migration patterns, remember that people never moved just you never had a family going someplace by themselves. Times was too difficult. People traveled in groups, and usually they married someone close by. So it's not at all unusual for the boys in this household to be married to the girls in this household, and vice versa. Brothers and sisters marrying brothers and sisters in the next household. They usually selected a spouse close by. And that's one of the things that you want to look at when you're looking at censuses. Who lived next door? And a lot of times by doing that you can find a link. Military records. Okay, we start thinking about the military records, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what's right here in this library. We have a wonderful library here. We can be very appreciative to our director, Paul Morrison, to the former director, Lou Kuntz, who have brought in many, many books. No, we don't have everything that Rowan County has because they're the district library. No, we don't have everything that Charlotte has, but we have more in this library than most libraries. So we can be very proud of our Stanley County library facilities and what is here. Many people come in from other areas to do the research here because we do have so much here. And as I say, Paul is very helpful in working with you. Do your pedigree chart as far as you can before you come in, because we do need to know the first 3 generations before we go further. Okay, looking at some of the things that are here in our library, I'm standing here where the microfilms are. This is the microfilms of Stanley County newspapers, wills, deeds, court records. The projector is just over here to my right, and there is a printer there so that you can print anything out that is in the microfilm. Here we have the Civil War records. This is the Civil War records, the war between the state, for the men who served from Stanley County. If you have a name of a person who served in Stanley County, you come here. It will tell you what regiment they're in, and then you go back here to the North Carolina troops. This is the rosters. Once you know what troop they're in, what regiment they're in, you can do that. If you do not, if you say, okay, I think my great-great-grandpa served in the Civil War, but I don't know where, then you come to the roster of the Confederate soldiers. Maybe they lived in Texas, maybe they lived in Tennessee. You would start here. This will give you some information, but certainly not as much as you will find in North Carolina.